So one thing that's been standing out to me is that the most intimidating thing when it comes to starting on YouTube ads for a lot of advertisers is making the video. And this is a big enough bottleneck that I felt like it made sense for me to start making some content around this to try to demystify the process because it's not nearly as complicated as it might seem when you first start thinking about the process. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to get off on the right foot, how to create your initial batch of video ads in the most likely way of them being performers, and then how to improve those video ads if they're not good enough. By the way, if you haven't watched any of my videos before, my name is Brandon Dillon. I'm the founder of ResponseFlood.com, where we help service providers and topic experts use YouTube ads to get more qualified prospects on the phone with their sales team. And as I mentioned, one of the things that is a common topic point for me when I'm bringing on new clients is the video itself. What does it need to look like? How long should it be? What sort of messaging should there be? What the format should feel like? And when I am guiding somebody through the process of creating them, I usually like to break it out for them mentally into two different sections. So you have the initial creation of your video ads in the very start, and then you have the optimization process, so making those video ads better over time. And let's take these in steps. So the initial creation of your video ads, this isn't something that you need to go through some sort of a high-ticket course to understand or read a billion different books on copywriting or even to hire an expert. This is something that you could figure out on your own, but it's important that you don't try to do this process in a vacuum. What I recommend for new advertisers is that you go out there and see what other advertisers are using for their video ads and try to replicate what you're seeing out there in the wild. Now, I'm not saying that you go out there and you use their messaging word for word or you use the same sort of images. What you're really looking for here is the structuring of the video ad. This will give you a much better feel for what's actually working and a much more accurate idea than what you're going to hear from an expert or what you might see in a course. What you'll end up noticing as well, once you start to sit down and do this research, is that you might be carrying around some myths about what makes a good YouTube ad. And once you actually start looking at what other advertisers are using and seeing success with, a lot of those myths are going to be demystified. And you will start to see that a good video ad, creating one, isn't nearly as complicated as you might think. Now, once you have those video ads in hand, the next step, and the step that's going to take a lot more time, a lot more attention, a lot more focus, is improving those video ads. Now, just like the creation of those video ads, this isn't something that you need to guess. You don't need to do this work in a vacuum. In fact, the marketplace itself is going to tell you what's working and what isn't. And what I mean by that is the way that you know if your video ad is performing or not is to review your data. So review the numbers that you're getting back from the traffic source, or in this case, YouTube ads, and make decisions based on what that data is telling you. There are dozens of different data points that you can get access to when you're running YouTube ads. But when we're talking specifically about the video creative, there's two that I find to be the most important. The first of those is view rate. Now, these are the people that are served your video ad on YouTube that then actually stick around and view it. Now, the definition of a view can change depending on what surface your video ad is showing on. So whether it's an in-stream ad or an in-feed ad or a shorts ad or a shorts placement. But those are kind of details that aren't really important. What's very important here is that the view rate is the number that you should be paying a lot of attention to gauge the quality of your video ad. And I would take it a step further and specify that I would recommend paying the most attention to your in-stream view rate. Now, this is going to tell you much more about the content in your video than the other two platforms, or pardon me, the other two surfaces where your video ad can show. And by gauging whether or not your view rate is strong, it's going to tell you two different things. Number one, whether or not you're targeting the right people. And number two, whether or not the beginning of your video ad, what a lot of other people will call the hook, is strong enough to grab attention and keep people focused on the video ad for an extended amount of time. So this is a really important metric to keep an eye on. And the rule of thumb, the benchmark that I tend to use internally right now, as of the time of this recording, is about 15% for your in-stream view rate. And this is what I would consider middle of the pack. This is average. If you're too far below that, the video ad is not doing its job. If you're at that or above that, then you probably have the hook worked out pretty well, and you're probably getting in front of an audience that at least is semi-targeted. Now, I wouldn't recommend that you keep this benchmark in the bank, because more than likely it will end up changing. YouTube is always rolling out new ad formats, and when they do that, they tend to sunset the current ad format. And when they do that, it ends up changing what these numbers actually need to look like. So the only way you're going to be able to know the actual benchmark at the time that you're watching this video is to do your own testing and set your own averages by running a ton of campaigns. But at least for now, the general rule of thumb that we're using in-house here is about 15%. And this is for the ad format that they're calling video action campaigns. Next year, which is 2025, video action campaigns are going to be sunset and replaced with an ad format called demand gen. So I imagine that some of the metrics that we're looking at may change when that transition happens. We've already been testing demand gen specifically for video formatting, and it still works for that, but that may change in the future. So as mentioned, do your own testing just in case these numbers may change. The second metric that is, in my opinion, even more important than the view rate for gauging the quality of your video and knowing whether or not it's working is the click-through rate. Now, the click-through rate are those that have watched the video ad and then have gone on to click through the call to action, ended up on your funnel where they can then take an action. Now, people can end up on your funnel without actually clicking through. This is one of the beautiful hidden benefits of YouTube, is that it drives a ton of conversions from people that just watch the video ad and then either search for your video on Google or go direct to your website and then convert. And those are kind of like hidden conversions, quote unquote. But you can still use the click-through rate as a proxy, engaging whether or not the video ad is good. What this metric will actually reveal to you is two different things specifically. Number one, whether or not your offer is good. And number two, whether or not how you're presenting that offer, the messaging that you've built around that offer, whether or not that is good. So I spend quite a bit of time paying attention to our click-through rates for those reasons, because as I'm sure you know, the offer and the message around that offer is probably the biggest strategic decision that you can make in your marketing. And this gets demonstrated to you through your click-through rate. So in terms of real world steps, whenever I see a video has a lower than average click-through rate, if it's an offer that we've already seen success with other campaigns, that immediately identifies to me that the messaging is the issue, and I get to work building out a stronger video ad. If it is a newer offer that we're just launching, then either one of those could be the culprit. And the only real way to rule that out is to hopefully, ideally, have a different funnel that you can split test, have a different offer that you can split test against the one you're promoting in that video, while also rolling in other video creatives so that you can rule out both hypotheses, whether or not it's the offer or the messaging. But more important than the tactics, strategically, the metric that is most important to pay attention to would be the click-through rate. And to reiterate, there's two of them: view rate and click-through rate. So with that said, those two metrics will give you what you need to know whether or not your video ad is working. I hope you find it useful. If you did and you like this sort of content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I am just getting this thing cranking again after a long time away, and I plan on releasing a lot more video content about YouTube ads, direct response marketing, lead generation, getting quality sales calls booked, all that sort of fun stuff, which is what I really geek out about. So if you like that sort of stuff, go ahead and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one.